Morning. Don't I look awake today? I've just opened the curtains to get some light in so I can say good morning. Wow, it's bright. So it's Wednesday. We arrived back from our little mini break on Monday, unpacked, and as you can see, I'm packing again. Today's video is all about the constant calculations you have to make with ME and how like the smallest thing can throw a spanner in the works. And all this will be revealed. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. Really lovely to see you again as per usual, and a massive welcome to anyone who is new. It is lovely to have you here as well. So this week I want to talk a little bit about the frustration that is ME. Talk a lot about the frustration that is ME really, but what I want to talk about this week really is this annoyance part of ME that is like how life is just a constant calculation when you live with ME. And lots of people have mentioned this in the comments, and this kind of goes links to a video I made a few weeks ago where I talked about how life with ME is like ME itself really is a full-time job, and I've just really kind of realized that life with ME is a full-time job. The more I take care of myself, the more I learn to pace and do energy management, the more of a full-time job I realize this is. And you know, as other people have said in the comments, this constant calculation we have to do with ME, it's just exhausting in itself. And when you live with an energy limiting condition, everything's exhausting. So then have to calculate your life is exhausting as well. I mean, it's just bizarre. I mean, to think that like a year ago, I lived my life. Well, I didn't just live my life because I've had this condition for 4 years and it's been getting worse and worse. But like, just to think that before all this started, I just used to take life for granted and just get on. And now everything I do has to be evaluated and calculated and worked out, what I can sacrifice, what I can't, what has to be prioritized. And it's just a nightmare. And unless you live with an energy limiting condition or you know somebody that does, you just can never really fully appreciate living like this. And how annoying and frustrating it is. I laugh, you know, and I'm always trying to be upbeat because I just have to, because I would go bonkers if I didn't. But it is so very tough. I've called this energy fatigue before, fatigue chess. Sorry, I've called this fatigue chess before because it does feel like that. It's like, you know, you make this move and then you have to kind of think 2-3 moves ahead, and you have to sacrifice pieces in order to like to move this way, and it's just like that all the time. You know, it's just so annoying. You know, and I spoke about how I was really hoping that by putting all the stuff in place that I've been putting in place over this last year since I first learned that what I likely had was what initially my doctor called chronic fatigue syndrome, that, you know, if I learned to pace, if I learned energy management, if I got an official diagnosis, if I got support, if I got some of my symptoms looked at, if I moved to a home that was more manageable, if I could get outside on my mobility scooter, if I got my finances supported, you know, if I put all these things in place, then I'd be arriving at this magical place. I've done this before, haven't I? Where I could then find a way to work again in a more, in a slowed down way. But it's just not that simple, is it? And this leads me on to a few updates from this week that just prove my point about how difficult it is to live with an energy limiting condition and have to make all of these calculations all the time. So let's start with some really good news and have a little nice update about life within Finn's life this week. This week has been a really nice week. It's Wednesday currently with me, and I'm shattered. I've got a rise in my chronic headache / migraines, but that's to be expected because me and Chris have been away this weekend. We had such a really lovely time away. We went like an hour down the road to Newquay and stayed in a caravan, which just sounds like that was a holiday. It was. We needed it because our last holidays went wrong, as I mentioned before. And we just stayed in a little cute little caravan, our caravan of love, and we listened to the rain on the roof. We went for little drives around the coast, looked at beautiful scenery. I managed to get Molly close enough to a sand dune to then shuffle the rest of the way with my sticks to sit my bum on a wet sand dune, and it was heaven. And it was just a really little nice mini break. But I knew, of course, that I was going to have to take a few days just to chill out because, again, this is what we do, this calculation. I'm going to have this 3 days away. And although I'm going to do pacing while I'm away as much as I can, for the benefit of me and Chris, we have to have this time away. I can't just not do it. So this calculation is have this time away, but then come back. No, I can have some time to rest, and then it's okay, right? But then, spanner in the works, Chris gets a phone call and he's got to have some eye surgery. Now, he's been waiting for this surgery for a while. He's got a really severe form of astigmatism. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically getting worse. And he needs it corrected. He can't, his prescriptions are no longer working. It's that bad. He needs to have something called cross-linking done on his eyes. So we thought this was going to be next year, but he's just had a call done to say, look, we can fit you in like next week. And of course he's like, yeah, let's just get this done. Trouble is, he's got to go all the way to East Grinstead for it, and we're in Plymouth. And this is like an 8-hour journey via public transport because, of course, it's eye surgery and he can't drive. I can't drive. And this is like this, we're talking this weekend, like Saturday the 5th of November. So we didn't know this until after we'd booked the holiday. So just leading up to the holiday, we're then also booking travel. So I'm on a mobility scooter. I don't have to now be Chris's carer. We did look to see if there's anybody who might be able to drive him instead of me, trying to come with him, and there's just nobody available. He can't go on his own. There's no other option. So it's going to be me. So, of course, going up there, it's fine. He can be my carer going up there. But coming back, I've got to be his carer. So he's going to be like partially sighted, holding on to my shoulder with me driving Molly with him to be on my shoulder. So we've had to do it as easily as we can, which is National Express coach, because obviously getting on and off trains with him partially sighted and me fatigued on a mobility scooter is not going to work. So we've had to like organise all of that. So the point of this is, okay, we could have just cancelled the holiday to give me extra time to rest, but that wouldn't have done us any good. We both needed this holiday because we couldn't have cancelled another holiday. So now I'm rested from the holiday, but now I also need to rest the rest of the week so that I can be in a fit state to go to the hospital with Chris and then come back with him. And then I've got to rest all of the week after we come back because it's really going to take out of me that huge journey. I don't think people understand how a journey can be really tiring for somebody with ME, but it's exhausting. It really throws me out. I mean, it's amazing how, you watch my heart rate when I sit in Chris's car, for example. It's all the little micro muscle movements when you're sat in a vehicle. I didn't really get how I was always so exhausted after a car journey until somebody else explained how much your body's having to adjust, and those little muscle movements in a car, that's why you get so exhausted. And obviously all the sensory stuff that happens, you can't quite get comfortable and all of the above. So that's gonna really exhaust me. So now, again, somebody who hasn't got a chronic illness can just go, oh, this is inconvenient, but okay, we can make all these little changes and it's fine. For me, this has now thrown me off for 2 weeks. So any idea of anything else I wanted to do is gone. I've already got a talk coming up, so I'm going to have to be really, really careful around this time now as well. Of course, I love Chris, and he's my priority. So of course, I'm going to do this, and he knows this. By the way, this is I'm not telling you anything that he doesn't already know. He doesn't watch my videos anyway. He doesn't watch my videos, but he knows all of this anyway. So, and of course, he's my priority, and I don't resent any of this. I'm not saying this to say that. This is just to try and explain how difficult this is. So what I'm leaning into here is like how I said a couple of weeks ago about really wanting to get back to some of my work, especially my writing, and like how that to keep like this list of priorities and how it keeps ending up at the bottom because of how like intensive my writing is. So it's like everything else get put into the top. So my pip got put to the top, had to do that first. Then that was done. And so my writing got near the top again. So, okay, this is sorted. Right, writing now. And then I got the mandatory reconsideration. Sorry, the PIP refusal. So then the PIP came back to the top. And now it's like, okay, I've sent the first appeal. Let's start the writing. And now Chris's operation is here. So that's come back. And this is what keeps happening. And it's so incredibly hard to try and do anything. It is really, really tough, and I'm really I find it really hard not to get frustrated, and of course I can't get frustrated because emotions play a part in this as well. You know, it all plays a part into it, and this is what I was saying about like how I need to find work that is really kind of like no deadline and very low intensity. See, speaking is much easier because it's just one event. I go, I speak, it's done. It's easier. I've got a lot of thinking to do. You know, I really have. One thing I did also mention I think I mentioned it in a video, and I've definitely mentioned it to friends of Finn on Discord, and thank you all so much for hearing me and listening to me kind of rant about not knowing what to do in terms of getting a therapist, a counsellor. I've been on the waiting list for NHS counselling now since January, February, March this year, and I'm desperate, absolutely desperate for someone to talk to. It's just reached a level of, you know, I'm honest, I rang the crisis line after I got that awful PIP assessment because I just started to feel like such a burden and like, what is the point? And it's just starting to feel really hopeless, and that's such a dangerous feeling. You know, I know how dangerous that feeling is, and I rang the crisis line. I talked to Chris knows all of this, and they were really great. You know, it was really useful, and I did actually get a call from Plymouth Options, and they were really lovely, and they said, look, we just don't have anybody. There is nothing available yet for a few months. It's probably not going to be till the end of the year. It might not even be till January, so there's nothing we can do, but you are free to ring the crisis line at any time. So Chris and I have just tightened our belts, and I've got myself a private counsellor who does concession rates, and I'm starting that tomorrow. So thank you everybody who on our Discord server at Friends of Finn who have helped me work through that, because I really struggled to think, you know, I'm already worried about finances, so is me having a counsellor I'm paying for just going to make it even worse? But, you know, I realised that it's an investment I need, because I can't just keep trying to cope with this. I need some help to work out how to manage this life now, because it's really tough. It's really tough, all the grief that comes up with everything that I'm going to lose and everything I have lost with this illness, and just trying to work my way forward now in terms of what I have to just let go of, and then work out what is manageable, what I can continue. And do you know what? I had a really big realization the other day. I was talking to somebody in the Finn fam. I can't for the life of me think who it was. It might have been Michelle. I can't remember. But I was saying about how, you know, not only do I want to, I'm really glad I'm seeing this therapist, really relieved, but I am also really not going to AA meetings anymore. That dropped off because I couldn't physically get to them, and because going to on Zoom meetings was even too much for me. I used to just do a lot of kind of like spiritual meetings, things like that, but I'm not even doing that anymore. And how I really want to do a lot of that. And I realized that my priority in getting well has been like, right, I really want to prioritize learning pacing, energy management, getting myself well so that I can do more work. But my priority really should be learning pacing and energy management to do more wellness tasks. Shouldn't it? It should be, let's get myself well enough to attend more ME online Zooms, for example, some more spiritual groups online, some more meditation groups online. That really should be my priority, shouldn't it? Not get myself well enough to do more work. So yeah, I think my therapist can help with that as well going forward. That's what I really need to think about. I'm just looking at the time, but I also do want to make a declaration about this me looking at the time thing. I am a person that likes to think and talk really deeply about the deep, important stuff. I am done trying to be a social influencer. And even if I ever was trying to do that, I am just here to share deeply and honestly about what it is to be a transgender gay man with mental health challenges, be in recovery from addiction, and living with ME/CFS. And on that, I cannot talk for less than 20 minutes. So my videos are likely to be around 20 minutes. There are chapters, and I'm going to do my best to try and make sure they're always chapters so the videos are easy to clip through for you, because I understand energy management and the need to do that, so I shall try and make them accessible that way instead. I've got a little list in front of me, that's why I keep looking down, because I did write a little list of things I wanted to say to you all, so I'm just going to lift it up because I can't look that far away. So I've told you about our lovely holiday, told you about the therapist. What's this one say? What does that say? I have no idea. Oh, I spoke to my occupational therapist this week. I have every 5 weeks I speak on the phone to an occupational therapist as part of our ME service, just to go through pacing techniques that she's teaching me. But this week she asked me about my PIP, because I'd mentioned it, and she asked if I'd got it, and then I kind of broke down a little bit and went no and told her the whole story. And she said, I can write you a letter. I did not know they could do this. So she sat with me on the phone for an hour, and we went through everything, and she's written me a detailed letter, which I shall get by email soon. So if, which is likely, they refuse to give me PIP at this mandatory reconsideration, I will have a letter going forward for my tribunal, which I'm likely to go through. So that was some good news this week that I'm really pleased about. So if you're somebody that's also going through this PIP appeal like I am, don't be afraid to ask for people that you work with for letters, because you know everybody that you work with may well have the capacity to write them for you, so do ask. I didn't even think to ask her, and I should have done. Told you about Chris is so nervous about his surgery, by the way. I know he's a big kind of loud, what should we call it, northern glory loud, I don't know what the word is, you know what he's like. He's very loud and kind of like full of, doesn't look like he can get upset by things, but he does, bless him. He's very, very nervous. So if you can send him any love, just to let him know that you're all thinking of him, because he's very, it's eyes, isn't it? And it's just a bit squeamish, but he is also very phobic around eyes, so he's very nervous. So please do send him your love, because he would very much appreciate that, but he would never ask himself. So yeah, that was it from me this week. Just wanted to really share my frustrations around having an energy limiting illness that means everything's got to be about sacrificing, calculating everything all of the time. So that's it for this week. Oh, I just want to say a welcome back to Ems and Toby, who have just rejoined our Friends of Finn Club. It's lovely to see you back. People do frequently kind of come and go from the Friends of Finn Club, and I just want to remind you all that that's absolutely fine. Everyone always remains part of the Finn fam, and people do often drop in and out of the Friends of Finn Club, and that's absolutely fine. You are always welcome, never any problem. It's just lovely to see you both back. Okay, well, take care of yourselves, everybody. I will see you on social media and update you all about Chris as we go. And it's going to be an adventure this weekend for sure. The wheeled leading the blind. Love to everyone. Take care of yourselves. See you next week.